Hey guys, Caleb with White Metal Games here. Welcome back to our Patreon page. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome to the channel. This channel focuses on kit bashing and conversion, but the video series you're watching right now, called Cheat Codes, is all about quick and dirty hobby tips that will elevate your hobby to the next level very easily, very quickly, and without a lot of hard work. These are not difficult to master techniques. They're really more like industry insider secrets. So on today's cheat code, we're going to be talking about plastic putty. Plastic putty is something that most of you probably don't know about, and it's kind of like the poor man's green stuff. Basically the way this stuff works is that it is kind of used like a sealer, like the same way you might, let's say, use plaster to close up a hole on a hole in your wall in your house or something like that. Basically, this stuff is, it doesn't mix with other sorts of epoxy. It's not an epoxy that way. It just dries with air contact, but it is incredibly useful for sealing small gaps, teeny tiny gaps on models, where you don't necessarily want to bust out the green stuff and where you don't necessarily want to spend a lot of time. One of the biggest problems I see from people is that when they first start using green stuff or two-part epoxy putties, is they don't smooth them out effectively. So this is a good way to kind of get in between epoxy putty if you need to seal a small gap, but not necessarily a large gap. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to take some of our epoxy putty, and I've pre-drilled a hole in this rhino door, just so that you can kind of see that it goes all the way through there. I think you can see my finger creating a shadow back there. And the idea here is just to quickly and easily seal in this hole without using green stuff and without using super glue in kind of a backdoor technique where we're just going to, use a little bit of plastic putty. Now you can pick this up at really online for about $4 or $5. This is just something we found on Amazon. There are some designer brands of this. Vallejo makes something they call plastic putty that's just like this. They sell it in 17 milliliter bottles, and I think it goes for $5 or $6. And while I love Vallejo product, I do think it's a little overpriced. So I think that if you want to pick this up on Amazon for a little bit less, it's even better. So what we're going to do is, and that's a little thicker than I remember it being, what we're going to do is we're going to squeeze just a teeny bit here into the gap. And we're going to use more than we need because we're going to wipe most of this away. But the most important thing here is just to get enough in there that's going to sort of seal the gap. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of press it down into the gap, and the goal is to get it down all the way through the hole. As we flip this over, you can see that I've got it nice and smooth in there. I'm going to push it down just a little bit more. Once I get it tacked in all the way, I'm going to grab the other end of my Q-tip, and I'm just going to sort of wipe it away. And all I'm really trying to do here is just to get it nice and smooth and even. Okay. So now I've got it smoothed out there, but I've got all this leftover residue. And that's okay. Now all I'm going to do is just grab another Q-tip, and I'm just going to start wiping away the residue as best I can. And in a minute, I'll probably use a little saliva just to get the rest of it. You could use a wet paper towel or Kleenex or really anything you have laying around. But all we're trying to do is get rid of any of this extra residue there so that we don't have any sort of scars or leftover material on it when we're done with it. I'm going to lift the tip of my finger and just start wiping a little bit. Okay. So now I've gotten the big stuff off and I'm just refining it, smoothing it down a little bit. And you can see that really in seconds I've sealed up this gap. When this is dry, I should be able to prime it up normally without having to worry about it. It should be nice and perfectly smooth. A little bit of extra there. And that's it. Like, this is done. So once this is dried, I will then prime it as normal, and then I can just paint from there. This is particularly useful on very, very small areas. For example, if you're, let's say, converting a model and you have a gap beneath, let's say, an arm or a shoulder or something like that, and you don't want to use necessarily, you don't have any green stuff available, or maybe you're just not a great sculptor, this is a really nice, quick and dirty, easy way to do it without worrying about expensive sculpting tools or two-part epoxies or anything like that. So just to review, plastic putty, you can get this from Amazon or online or anywhere you like. Costs about $5 or $6 for this. Is a 400 milliliter tube. You can also get it from professional brands like Vallejo in 17 milliliter bottles. It works just as well, maybe better, but it's certainly a lot more expensive. And then all you do is just smush it into the gap, use some Q-tips to wipe it away, use a little saliva if you need to get it all the way clean. Let this cure. It'll cure after about 3 or 4 hours. I would just say let it cure overnight to be on the safe side. Get as much of the scar material away as you possibly can, and then prime as normal. And that's it. So this is probably one of those things you haven't considered for your hobby arsenal before. I always recommend this for your hobby desk. Everyone should have a bottle of this laying around. I hope you've enjoyed this cheat code. If you are new to the channel, welcome for the first time, and we hope you'll enjoy more of these in the future. If you're finding us through YouTube, head on over to patreon.com/whitemetalgames. You can check out all of our kit bashing and conversion videos and tutorials. We have cheat code videos just like this one where we'll share short hobby tips with you. We also have a series called Clients Only, where we show you how we work on actual client models, and we share those building techniques with you so that you can use them on your own models. Finally, subscriptions for our channel start at just $2, and every month after we hit our first $100, we will be giving away models that we build on the channel that you can vote on yourself. So $2, vote on models, subscribe, and potentially win those models. Head on over to patreon.com/whitemetalgames. Till next time, put your minis where your mouth is.